So he's making these tunes for himself, and he was like, he would just put them out on MySpace, which was, the thing at the time. We're talking mid 2000s.
We're talking the ancient 2000s.
Yeah, the olden times.
And that's true.
Just the music that he put on MySpace ended up getting a lot of attention from like Australian like record labels. Like enough that he got signed to a record label as Tame Impala. And they put out an EP from home recordings that he already had. The Tame Impala EP.
Right.
And that EP went to like #1 on the Australian independent record chart or whatever the name of the chart is.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that's fucking crazy. Like, I literally just made this shit, like, in my house. Like, I didn't think this was gonna go anywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? He said that, like, he wasn't necessarily even making it to be released. Like, he wanted to show his friends and he wanted to bump it in the car, but, like, when he was making it in his head, he wasn't like, yeah, this is gonna be on a record label.
Yeah, which is like hilarious. Is there something in the water in Australia? These guys from AC/DC, they're Scots, but I mean, that's what Angus says about Thunderstruck. I was just warming up my fingers. Is that right, Angus?
I didn't think anyone was gonna like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he gets signed. He puts out that EP. The EP does really well. So now all of a sudden he's just like, oh shit! Like I guess people kind of like this music that I'm making by myself in my house. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Which is so crazy because, I mean, it's literally just him. He's playing every single instrument. He's writing all of it. He's producing it. He's mixing it. He's putting it out.
Yeah, he's really a sound bot.
So it's really like Tame Impala is just what his mind sounds like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is like what I think of like when I listen to like old Stevie Wonder things. Like when he's playing all the instruments, he's writing, he's producing it. I'm just like, this is what Stevie's brain sounds like. You know what I mean? It's like the same thing with him. You know what I mean? But yeah, so he puts it out, and then it's time to record an album.
Yeah.
And the way that he did it is the way that it should be fucking done. He rented this house a few hours outside of Perth, like overlooking the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
No internet. No phone, no TV, no nothing.
Yeah.
Just music.
Yeah.
And that is the way to do it.
It is. It
like,
is.
If you could do it like that, then you should do it like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I just feel like the sounds around you just come alive and help you out. Like, sounds themselves are like, no Wi-Fi. Yes. Let's play.
I feel like the way to do it is either you do it overlooking the ocean or like in a mountain range.
Wow. Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? Just a house, like, I don't know. I love that idea.
Me too.
But
that's album number 3.
Oh, our album. Yeah. I was like, wait, no, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I thought we couldn't do that. No, okay. Yeah, that's our next album. We're gonna rent a house in an undisclosed location. Don't follow us. So okay, yeah. So he's putting this album out, and it was funny. He was talking about it. He was like, "This was the first time I was literally recording things, like knowing that people were gonna hear it besides me."
Yeah,
which is insane.
Yeah, that would be so hard on my brain. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like I said, like when the reality actually hits, like, that's just like, oh wow, this is intense.
It's very intense. He got this guy David Friedman to help him out and like mix the album. Who he had worked with like the Flaming Lips. And like some other big band, maybe like Interpol or something.
Probably. I don't think I remember hearing them. No.
Yeah, I don't know, but he was going there. He was already a big producer. He was going there to like just help out with the mix. I guess just to have like another set of ears on it, just because it's just all him. It's like that shit can really drive you crazy.
Yeah.
If it's just you. And this is the thing I saw in an interview. Somebody was like, "So Kevin, like, so how do you know when the music is ready to be put out?" And he was like, when somebody tells me that it's time for the album to come out. Because I could just be forever. I could be like, oh, no, this could be like, I could do this or I could add this. I could take this away. Like, I could be working on this literally forever. Somebody at some point just has to tell me you have 2 weeks left.
I feel that. I feel that from him. I really, really do.
Yeah. And it's really interesting, the way with like home recording and shit, like it's so easy to fall into that because you can always be like, oh, I can mix this a little better. Like it's missing something, but I don't, and you could just, and it's something that like, it's really easy to fall into.
Yeah.
Like even with us, like we record and we produce all of our music and it's like, when we put out our first album, like, we had to set a deadline.
Yeah.
Or we would just always be like, oh, well, we could always change something.
Right,
You just
exactly.
have to, at some point, be like, no, this is it.
Right. You don't want to leave a window open for any of that stuff. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Hard. Yeah.
So he had to put it out. Shout out to the label. And the first album was called Innerspeaker, and it looks like this. And it's just the shit. Like, it just sounds great. Like,
yeah.
Everything about it's very guitar heavy, like psychedelic.
Yeah.
But it's also very melodic. It's very poppy.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's clearly a lot of different influences in it.
Oh yeah, and what makes his sound so great is like he goes into his pedals and makes sure that he gets like certain types of tones and sounds that are specific to like what resonates with him, and that I think is like the beauty of his music too. Like, yeah, it's super psychedelic, and yeah, it can be trippy and be out there and stuff like that, but the tones that he picks like through his like external software is just like crazy. Mm-hmm. Jeez.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, one of the first things when I think about the album is just like the tones of everything, the keyboard tones, the guitar tones. Like, you could tell there was so much time put into every single individual sound to make it exactly the way that he wanted it.
Yeah.
And that's part of why it sounds so psychedelic. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is just what his brain sounds like. You know what I mean? There's just unadulterated, like, just him.
Yeah.
Like, when you have a band, it's like there's multiple people, you know, adding their brains together to make the sound.
Right.
You know what I
true.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, our music is the combination of both of us.
Right.
But Tame Impala, it's just what he wants to put out into the world.
Yeah.
So nobody's telling him, oh, no, don't use that sound, or what if we did this instead, blah, 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 blah. There's no guardrails, really. And I just think it's so crazy.
It is. It's so crazy. It's so good. He's like a Bjork, like, you know, who just puts stuff out. And I think that's amazing. Yeah, the first album, like that, I mean, beautiful tones, beautiful melody, without anything being like too soft or too sappy. You know, it's just pretty. And that's what, and it's like feel good music. It's like it actually kind of like settles, you know, you in a way, which is awesome.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's like a lot of it sounds, you know, happy and feel good, but a lot of the lyrics are very not that.
Right.
Which I always love that. I always love a really happy sound with like lyrics that are a little edgier, if you want to say that. Because all of his lyrics during that time are just like about him being alone, basically.
Yeah, when you get into like his life as like a teenager, and like he's like he didn't have the best family life and home life, you know, he doesn't seem to go into too much detail, which is all right. But he does remember just like crying in the mirror as like a teenager and stuff like that, and like the lyrics come out as that. So like. He said that there's a moment when he was like in the bathroom and he was just like he must have been like 15, and then like everything seemed to be so fine, and he's like brushing his teeth and he just starts to cry out of nowhere. Like that is like his music in a way, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where'd this lyric come from?
Right.
Let's accept it. It's part of it.
But it also really makes sense. Like when you think about like the time that you put into making this music and you're doing it by yourself, you're gonna be alone most of the fucking time. If this, like, you're just in a room surrounded by instruments all the time. Like, you don't even have a drummer to just fuck around with. It's just you in a room forever.
Because he was the drummer in another band. And now what are you gonna do?
He's got nobody. He's got nobody but himself in his mind.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
You wanted to be the virtuoso, Kev. How about that?
It is funny. I wouldn't call him a virtuoso in any specific instrument necessarily.
No,
but I think he's a producer.
Producer Ocho. Producer.
Produsocho.
They called him a virtuoso online, and I was like wondering about that too. Maybe he's just very virtuous. How about that? We'll just leave it at that.
He's just a really good guy.